Alright, Chimu, we're saving souls from the void in this one.
For a whole lot more videos like this one, check out our channel, give us a like, and subscribe.
Alright, Scott, so we got our hands on an interesting title, Towaga Among Shadows. This kind of stationary, mostly, point and defend style game, dude. So what did you think of this?
Yeah, this one's an interesting concept for a game, and it seems really simple on the surface, but kind of gets deeper the further you get into it. Yeah, you're a character that largely just stands in place, and you have a big beam of light, and you use that to cleanse the shadows from the land that you're kind of moving throughout the story. It kind of has some light action where a lot of things rush your point, and you just have to defend yourself using either the left click light beam attack or the right click, which is a spell that you pick up and kind of collect through the story. It was really kind of cool. What did you think of this one?
Man, I actually I had a good time with this for how simple it for how simple it actually is. I love how much depth there kind of is within the spells. There are about 6 different spells that you learn throughout the story, each of them actually kind of being different. Nothing too crazy, the first spell you start off with is just a huge repel ability that destroys everything around you, and then a couple other ones is like the frost beam and such. So there is some cool depth, and you can actually upgrade this along with your character. So with your character, you can actually upgrade your health, your beam size, the amount of mana points you have, and such. So it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, they have a layer of depth that you spend your souls that you're collecting when you crush these enemies, and it gives you something to work towards in the timeline of the story. The story is told to you kind of between these phases, and these phases are really quick, I'd have to say. I think there's 42 in part 1, and there's like another 42 in part 2. Part 3 is unavailable at the moment, but this game has so much in it that these short little phases kind of take you on this adventure, and it goes through this world where you're cleansing these shrines, and it's told with kind of these characters that kind of haggle you along the way. It has its own charm to it, that's for sure, and I really appreciated the way that the characters played themselves out. They don't exactly have voice acting, but they kind of have like their own little kind of voice that comes out.
Yeah, and their own personality definitely within the dialogue. And honestly, the character design I thought was pretty good, man. Every handful of waves, or even every couple, they throw a new kind of creature at you, or even a boss fight or a mini boss fight. So they actually, they're constantly kind of throwing new stuff at you throughout the entire experience.
Yeah, well, and you also unlock these other modes of play. So you get the Sky version where you actually do have movement abilities, where you can use the WASD controls to, move your character around in this box in the sky while you're fending off
But you are limited
waves.
to not using your spells when you're in the flying mode, which I thought was a little weird. But you're right.
Well, then when you unlock it, actually separate of that, you get the ability, you can actually use your spells, I believe, and then in that mode where you're kind of in a leaderboard scenario with other players across the internet, and we're pretty highly ranked up there at the moment, but there's actually that mode and a survival mode, which is, the similar, you just stand on the top of a temple and fend off waves, but again, it has that leaderboard capability with it. It's a simple game, but there's kind of a lot in the small, layers to it. That this game kind of has a lot to bring you back in to keep playing over and over again for small sessions. So one thing that I noticed that was kind of really lacking in this game was a soundtrack. There wasn't a lot of really intense music, and I kind of did my own substitution with some heavy metal, and it actually made the game way more intense. I would definitely recommend that in further updates, perhaps, with that part 3. But that was just one thing that I noticed was kind of lacking. The other gripe I have with this game is that the controls aren't locked to the window that I was in. At least in my configuration, the game was kind of taking place, and if my mouse drifted out of the game square, that would interact with my recording software, all kinds of things, because I wasn't locked in. And it made aiming the beam at times kind of really cumbersome, especially when I can't see my cursor. So I have a little bit of some issue with the control, but it's something that you get used to as you play the game, and it comes, to be less of an issue. A simple concept going on that is actually surprisingly gratifying, but we just kind of wish there was a little bit more to it. If you're gonna give this one a score, what would you say?
Well, man, for how simple this is, but, with the amount of depth that it also brings, I'm going to have to give this one a 7, man. I had quite a bit of fun. The characters that they bring are pretty funny and comical, and they actually, you actually get to learn more about them as you beat them in the actual storyline. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a nice progression to this game that makes it even more gratifying, even though it's kind of just an easy game. But I'm right there with you with a 7. A great but simple concept. We really wish there was more to this game.